Welcome to another episode, everyone. The Baby Insane Crips teamed up with the Park Village Compton Crips and hit for $2.6 million. But things don't always go as planned. This is a precautionary tale, if you will. All of these stories are there for information, entertainment, and educational purposes only. This is rap news and street politics. Now, understand that all of these situations, these individuals have already been found guilty. This is public record, or they have pled guilty. No one is on the run. No one is on the loose. The police are not looking for someone, and I'm helping them to find them. These individuals have already been arrested. It's public record, and they've been found guilty or have pled guilty to this. Again, this is how to rob the Baby Insane Crips. Hook up with the Park Village Crips and hit for $2.6 million.
Rap News Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, with the robbery crews and flock teams assembled by some of the most notable hoods out here in the city of LA. Now, this is the second installment to the mini docuseries we doing on these robbery crews. The first crew in this series covered the Harlem 30s when they stripped a jeweler of his $500,000 Richard Mille off his wrist, broad daylight, and went federal in Beverly Hills. Now, the feds started paying close attention to these robbery crews after COVID, and a lot of cases have started to develop. People are starting their bids out, and a lot of new details are coming out about how these crews were trying to run their bag up, strong-arming businesses and people in the city. Now, this next crew we got is coming out of Long Beach with the Compton connection. We got the East Side Baby Insanes and the Park Village Compton Crips in a familiar spot, jumping out broad daylight in Beverly Hills, and this time hitting for a couple million in a situation that was a lot more planned than the Harlems, a little less riskier, and had potential for a bigger payout. But we gotta put the disclaimer: we don't condone any violence, robbery, or any other criminal activity on Rap News and Street Politics. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. But we gotta break these plays down and see if anything can be tweaked on their moves. This is How to Rob with the best hood channel on YouTube.
Nigga, I'm from Crips Street. Nigga, it's the big three. Sack down guy with a banger on 10th Street. Niggas bank with no Glocky, he don't keep gleek. My bitch do numbers, but I'm trying to knock some new feet. I toast nigga bunk, grown niggas getting kidnapped. Get cut, tight nigga up and get your drip back. Thirst for a beat, my dog feeding for a head tap. Niggas a rookie, you ain't even got no head tap.
So we gotta rewind the clock to March 23rd, 2022, Wednesday afternoon, 1:45 in Beverly Hills. Now, we got three individuals that came into play under a collective indictment that participated in this move over here. We got Liddell Tharp from the Babies on the east side of Long Beach. Liddell, somebody who likes to flash money on the internet, has been doing it for a long time, and he also goes by the name of Zavy on the east side. The next individual named in the indictment, Jimmy Vernon, aka Jungle, from Park Village Compton Crip. And they had a new booty on the play, 19-year-old Deshaun Bell, who was also starting to hang around the East Side Babies in Long Beach. Now, five individuals in...
New booty is not the name you want in the hood. New booty is not what you're looking for.
Total were seen at the spot of choice, Luxury Jewels on Beverly Drive on Wednesday, March 23rd. One of those individuals was also a minor who the feds refer to as KJ or Lil Nina, aka Scooby, also with them East Side.
And of course, for those who may not know, Beverly Hills in California is where all the rich people are at. That's where the celebrities are at, Hollywood and all that. But Beverly Hills is, if you're in Beverly Hills, you're driving Rolls Royces and this and that. If you live in Beverly Hills, you're driving Maybachs. They have these expensive jewelry stores down there worth millions of dollars. These jewels are, and whatever, the high class shopping in Beverly Hills. Purses that cost $500,000, etc. Because the people who patronize these places in Beverly Hills have a lot of money. So a lot of these individuals, these crews, they hook up. They're not trying to rob anything in South Central. And it's not much money down there. They're going to go to where the money is at. That would be Beverly Hills.
babies in the paperwork. But when these dudes press play at 1:45 lunch hour in the middle of Beverly Hills, cameras catch them jumping out of a gray Kia Sportage 5 deep with crowbars, axes, and hammers going to the front of luxury jewelers, breaking the display case and making off with $2.6 million in jewelry. Now again, with this being broad daylight in the middle of the day, not only did surveillance
Look, so they just right there. They didn't go inside the store. I remember this though. They just busting. I think I was locked up. They just busting out the window right there outside, as we can see, broad daylight, cars driving down the street, turning the corner. You know, they have on hoodies and masks and all that, and they just bust out the window, grab what you can grab. In this case, $2.6 million worth of jewelry, and make a dash.
Cameras catch these dudes, but a lot of witnesses were on the street and were video recording everything take place over here off Beverly Drive. They caught these dudes doing the move and running northwest to an alley behind luxury jewelers and getting off. Now, we have to start it with the beginning of their plan. Like I said, in comparison to the Harlem 30s in Beverly Hills, these dudes had a little bit more planning and wit about their move. A few minutes before this, the Milestone camera system in Beverly Hills, which, as we spoke on in the last video, is a fully integrated police surveillance system that not only encompasses the police department, but also integrates residents and businesses to create a full-scale surveillance system in the Beverly Hills neighborhood. Milestone catches 3 vehicles pull into the neighborhood March 23rd. One of them being a Kia, which was the vehicle everybody jumped out of, and they used the caravan tactic. 3 vehicles traveling in a pack to the location. The caravan is a classic move used on many type of missions, whether it's just a stolen car or whether it's a full-fledged murder that y'all going to. The caravan method is something that's deployed on many different plays. And along with the Kia, the surveillance system catches an Audi and a Mustang traveling with the Kia to the mark. Now, after the smash and grab with them running into the alley, surveillance video catches the Audi as the lone car coming out of the alley that they ran into. So investigators set on that Audi. Now, the Audi had a nice touch. There were some discrepancies in the get down of the Audi, but the Audi had a swap plate on it. Now, the thing that I like about the Audi is the swap plate matched the Audi. They grabbed a plate from another Audi and slapped it on the one that they used in the mission. That's a nice touch. The license plate, though, was of an older model Audi, but at first glance, that could pass. So that was one thing, like I said, was a little bit more planned than the situation we went through in the last video with the Harlems. But when they tracked that 3-car caravan with the Kia and the Audi, they also noticed a Mustang in it as well. This is where the first mistake was made in this situation. The Mustang was an enterprise rental car ridden by nobody other than Liddell Zavy Tharp out of the Babies. This is flagrant on the play. Again, hypothetically speaking, this is what CPs and faces are for. Renting vehicles and pulling up in vehicles in your name is sloppy, and you asking for them people to be on your ass extremely fast. Now,
yes, because we all know that that's exactly what happened with the story yesterday. The individuals from West Boulevard, the brothers from West Boulevard, or one was from West Boulevard, one was from Black Peastone, and they had an individual with them from East Coast Crip. None of those situations ended up well, but they were driving around in their Tahoe and making videos, making rap videos, talking about blue hundreds and this and that. And these individuals here are doing the same. We see them right here on video, flashing their money, making videos, counting their money with all of this jewelry on, big ass gold chains. That y'all ain't got no job. Where do you get all of this stuff from? You have to be low key. And then when you going around in your own car that is registered to you, you're asking for trouble. Now, again, we're not trying to tell you the perfect way to rob. We just show how these individuals here made mistakes and how these individuals here end up in prison.
Reason why they did that, they didn't think that Milestone was going to catch on to that caravan. The Mustang was not involved in the play in any way, but clearly there were visual indicators that noted all 3 of those cars were together. But we'll come back to the Mustang because that didn't become important until later on in the investigation. And it actually wasn't even needed because something more detrimental happened at the scene. In the midst of them breaking the glass and running off, Jungle from Park Village drops his phone at the scene. And when they ran off, they left the Kia, which indeed was a stolen vehicle. So not only did they leave the vehicle they came in to the front of the store, Jungle drops his phone and some of the equipment in terms of the hammers and axes were also left on the scene. But let's start.
So they didn't do that much of a good job. He said that they did, a better job than what the Harlems had done. And apparently the Harlems were real sloppy, the individuals that hit their lick. I'm going to get into that one as well. But my goodness, this dude, why you got the phone with you? Why do you have your personal phone with you? You got all these sweats on. The pockets are not that good. They're not secure unless you're going to put your phone in your pocket and zip it up. If you have some sort of zipper to where it cannot fall out. But it's just better not to have your phone with you anyway. They can track you from your phone, etc. Why you can't be on a phone call talking to your girl? You're on a mission. So why even have your phone with you? Because of this sort of reason right here is why you don't do it. They didn't drop the phone. Now you're cooked.
With leaving the Kia. Now, leaving the Kia to some may seem like a good idea. It's a stolen car. Everybody's seen us jump out of it. We don't want to track attention while we moving out of here. Again, we come back to these play extenders. They got jewelry, no money. They got to move around in different spots to get this jewelry off. They don't want to be tracked in this Kia while they still have to handle business after the play. But why this was a bad move, like I said, 5 individuals jump out this Kia. That's 5 people that have to be tracked in terms of not dropping DNA in this Kia. You've left it at the scene and given it to investigators. They're combing through it for DNA off top. I know individuals that have went down for a murder with their DNA being found in a hat left on the scene. Yep. So what do you think a vehicle is going to leave behind with 5 different individuals? Investigators are 5.
I know individuals, for those who may not know, I've done over 30 years of incarceration. Welcome to the Inside Story here with me, Damian Porter. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And I've seen individuals in there for murder because they happen to spit right there at the crime scenes, just straight spit, left a cigarette butt, what have you, yes, and got convicted for that. You got 5 individuals with you, or 5 individuals total. That's 5 chances of someone making a mistake. That's 5 chances of someone getting caught. And once one get caught, you're all done. Things are not the same these days. Once one of you individuals get caught, you're all going down. Believe that. That's the way it is now.
5 times more likely to find something in the vehicle, and that's exactly what they did. They found traces of DNA in the vehicle, and that truly serves as a whole in their planning process because they plan to leave that vehicle there. And I would say it's unacceptable. But for the elephant in the room, Jungle dropping his phone ruined the whole play automatically. Things like the DNA in the car, along with the Mustang being traced back to Liddell Tharp, could somewhat serve to be inconclusive. Just because your DNA is in the car doesn't necessarily place you at the scene without further evidence or somebody snitching. But when you leave your cell phone at the scene, it's game over at that point. But let's go into the mindset of why they chose this place and put themselves in this position in the first place. So as you see by the video, they chose a store, which differentiates from our last video with the Harlems, where they picked an individual. I would always say the place of business will always be safer than dealing directly with an individual. Too many things go left, and as you see with the Harlems, somebody ended up getting shot because a tussle ensued. Dealing with strictly a place of business lessens the probability that something like that will happen because your focus is now strictly on the merchandise instead of taking it off an individual. Again, the stakes are still risky because they did it in broad daylight with customers and employees in the store. But this is why they went for the display case. Now, the display case can be seen.
That man, why you doing that? Why you showing off all that money even though he has a mask on? We know that the federales are watching podcasts, hip hop lyrics, and this and that. I've heard them say as much. I've heard Congress talking about it as of late, that they look to YouTube podcasts to gain information and glean information into a certain case if the streets are not talking. That they feel like individuals on the podcast or on the internet or in rap lyrics will be talking. And they actually get this information from this. So when you make these posts, when you have rap lyrics about what you've done and who you have killed, we've covered that here. individuals talking about these things. We just covered that with raw digs. Individuals talking about individuals that they've had killed or that they have killed, and they get these lyrics and use them against you. They get these posts. I've heard judges speaking about them, where you made Instagram posts showing that you were not remorseful. You made Instagram posts with weapons out. I've heard judges in there watching all of this stuff. So if you're out here robbing and you're robbing banks or whatever, jewelry stores or what have you, you may not want to be making videos, Instagram videos, with stacks of cash, and you don't even have a job. Big ass, humongous chains on, and you don't even have a job. Where did you get the money from? Why are you showing it off anyway? It can do nothing but bring you a bunch of headaches, a bunch of heartache. People feeling like they're entitled to the money. People that know you. Other people want to take the money. Keep it to yourself, man.
As a smart move, depending on the location. But the main reason why the display cases hit is because of the tracking devices. 99.9% of the time, stores are not going to put their best items on display. They're going to have things that draw you into the store, but they're going to keep the most valuable items in the store, behind lockup, and away from a situation like this. But that's not saying that those things are not still valuable. They made away with 19 bracelets, 7 pairs of earrings, 4 necklaces, 8 rings, and 20 watches, again, totaling $2.6 million. So this haul was still extremely lucrative for display case items. But when it comes to that tracking device, let's take a lesser example of a phone store. So the phone store has all those useless display items in the front of the store. But when you hit that safe in the back of the phone store, there's usually a tracker phone in the back. So in theory, what they're wanting you to do is be in such a hurry in hitting the safe to where when the safe opens up, whether it has a timer on it or not, all you doing is flushing everything into your bag and the tracker phone goes in the bag with it. So in relation to a jewelry store, they'll have tracking devices underneath the face of a watch, so to speak. Of course, you won't find nothing on an earring, things like that. But inside of the actual manufacturer case or under the face of the watch, the tracking device may lie. But most of the time, it won't be on the display case item. So this went into their planning of not going fully inside the store, but hitting the front glass. But like I spoke on, when you're doing things with employees and witnesses around, you can get things like the HERO Act. As we see here, the owner of a neighboring store came out and started to interfere. This is where shit can go left. As we see with the tussle that ensued with the Harlems, DNA from blood that was spilled was left on the victim's shirt by one of the defendants. Things like these.
Yeah, he came out kicking. I've been noticing that the whole time. The dude from the other store came out of that door and he started kicking those dudes that was over there robbing. And so that's the neighboring store. That's his friend. That's his buddy. He said, if you do it to him, you'll do it to me. They were not displaying any weapons, apparently. It was not a hostile, violent takeover. It was violent. I mean, they're busting the windows out and all of that, of course. But like he was alluding to, they're focused on the product, not focused on individuals, not focused on people. They're not bothering anyone driving down the street. Not saying that what they're doing is not dangerous, because it is, and you have to be extremely careful. But I'm saying they're not out there pointing weapons, this and that. So dude was able to come out and kick at them, chase them down a little bit. And had they had weapons out and doing all of this, he wouldn't have done all of that. But they're still taking a very it's extremely dangerous. Let's say dude comes out instead of kicking him, he comes out with a gun and starts shooting. It's going to be justified. It's going to be justified, even though they haven't displayed a weapon, even though his life was not in danger, even though he would be considered having escalated the situation, bringing a gun into it, he would get away with it. So these individuals are still putting their life in danger, and clearly, obviously, their freedom. Dropping phones, DNA inside of the car, left a whole Kia there, left a whole car there. Yeah, I don't know how much better they were than what the Harlems had. What the hell did the Harlems do? Sheesh.
little tussles and people trying to get in the way will have your ass sewed up, and this only happens when you doing shit in front of a whole bunch of other people. This is when the Supermans come out. As you see, this individual tried to push some people, it didn't work, and he got his ass up out the way. But being touched by an individual is something that also shouldn't be happening. But either way, they get out, leave the Kia, leave the phone, jump in the Audi, they're out of Beverly Hills. Like I spoke on with the play extenders, they got jewelry that they have to sell. Where did they go? Jumped in the alley, took it straight to downtown LA. And the paperwork alleges that Lil Nina, the minor, aka Scooby, along with Liddell Tharp, handled the business of getting the jewelry off in downtown. Now the new booty, Deshaun Bell, was promised 6 to 7 racks and was never paid, so he says. So you know what we coming with soon with his name. But before everything...
Yeah, you know what's coming with his name. He snitched. He's a rat-a-tat-toolie. Or Ratatouille. A Sammy the Bull. He was promised $7,000, $6,000 to $7,000, and never received it. Yeah. He said, you know what's coming next with him? Yeah, he snitched. You're supposed to pay me my money, you didn't pay me. He snitched. And then he's only supposed to, that's the same thing that happened with the Young Dolph case, right? Yeah, they were talking about somebody was supposed to pay him the money, he didn't pay him. They said that it happens like that all the time. You got to give it up. But $7,000, $6,000 or $7,000, but he's 19 years old. He don't know what's going on. He don't know much better. But it's 5 of you individuals, and you hit for $2.6 million worth of stuff. Of course, you're not going to get that much on the street and in downtown LA when you go to hawk the jury. They're not about to give you what it's actually worth or anywhere near it. But if it's worth $2.6 million, you got to be getting something, decent. And how is it that he's only about to get $6,000? And then didn't even get that. Oh yeah, it went all bad. See? So let this be a lesson to all of you who are looking at this and thinking, damn, $2.6 million, I can go bust out a window. First of all, it ends bad for everyone, as it always does, as the story did yesterday. 2 individuals ended up shot in the head yesterday. And the rest of them are in prison. They're cooked. That's it. Never got to enjoy the money, never got to, spend the money. And then here you have a situation where these are supposed to be your comrades, your boys, your friends, your cohorts. You're all doing this stuff together. You're taking a chance just like they are with your life, with your freedom. As I said, the individual could have came out with a weapon shooting. You're risking your life, and you only are about to get $6,000 or $7,000, and then you don't even get that. You get nothing. These are your friends. These are your boys. This is how it always ends up. That's why it's not worth it.
Thing blew up. Long Beach PD gives Beverly Hills a call based off the style of the robbery. They said they watched over it very carefully, and they have an individual who is a suspect in Long Beach robberies who gets down the same way. That individual is Liddell Tharp. So now the Mustang caught on surveillance in Beverly Hills, and Long Beach PD's somewhat back-end work has made Liddell Tharp a prime suspect, along with Jimmy Vernon, who dropped his cell phone. But he didn't help himself. 2 days later, he's on Instagram posting the stacks with the caption "robbery gang" on them and captioning bad.
What? See what I was just talking about? Look at this, man. You can't do that. You're going to jail. That's money right there on the right. Stacks of money. You see that blue right there? That's a lot of money right there. Those blue hundreds, boy. That's a lot of dough. That's a lot of dough right there. And he posted it on Instagram 2 days after the situation and put robbery gang. Hashtag robbery gang. Robbery gang. And then they all sitting here in the picture with stacks of cash, throwing up the tray, the 3, putting money to their ear and all that. Badass babies. That's what it says. Badass baby. Baby insane. Throwing up the 3. With all that money right there. Put all of this on Instagram with robbery gang. After you actually rob someone, you put that on Instagram and say robbery gang. Okay, y'all tripping.
Ass babies with them gray and blue rags putting the money up after getting the jewelry off. And 5 days after this is when people's past starts to catch up with them. So both Liddell Tharp and Jimmy Vernon are on probation. Liddell was actually on federal supervised release from a case that he caught in 2018 where he fled from a federal checkpoint in New Mexico. Him and his people was in a car, stopped at the checkpoint. He was supposed to pull over to the side and he ran because he had a warrant. And for fleeing for federal agents, he went down on a case and now he's out on federal release. Jimmy Vernon is also on probation. And 7 days after the robbery, he calls his PO to change his phone number on file because, again, he dropped his phone at the scene. And that probation that he was on was for residential flocking, burglary. So the police are now starting to glue together the MOs and suspect profiles because they're matching previous crimes that these dudes have committed. But now that they got Vernon's number and they own to Liddell Tharp, they start to do that back-end work in iCloud. We have to keep stressing Instagram, the phone period, the iCloud, all of that shit.
Part of it is just that, we've been emasculated so much in this country that we try to compensate for it by displaying wealth, even though we don't actually have wealth. We just want to look like we have something instead of actually having something. So when you do come across a little money, when a black person has some money, for the most part, not everyone, of course, generally speaking though, yeah, when a black person has some money, you're going to know it. You are going to know it by the way they dress, by the way they act, by the way they talk, by the jewelry they got on, and they just showing you the damn money, whatever. When they got some money, you're going to know it. White people got all kind of money. They walk around with a plain shirt on, no designer, even though they're the ones that can really afford it. We can't, but we just got it on because we want to look like we can afford it. We want to look like we got money. Well, this gets you. That's a whole nother. That's I don't want to get too deep into that, but that's that's why these individuals. Every video, somebody got a stack of cash. Every video. They got a stack of cash in their hand, stacks of it, to their ear and their hand. They throwing it. Every video. These are all videos, all posts that are going to be used against them later on, by the way. And they all have on these big old chains and jewelry. Every video. Jeez. After you out here robbing for the stuff, though, and now they looking for you. They own to you. They putting stuff together. And you're helping them with these videos.
This is the main way people wrap up the case extremely fast. It seems like it ain't no more beating cases off of bullshit anymore with everybody having all the information in their phones and on their social media accounts. Even if you delete these messages, these dudes then went into iCloud and found deleted messages in there. And they figured out that they planned this whole move on Instagram. They caught Liddell Tharp messaging his homies, unindicted people though, from the babies, talking about what else they needed for the move. They said they got the Audi, the Kia, they just need to program the police scanner and they gonna be green. Police found a deleted photo in the iCloud of all the individuals from the robbery, in the clothes that they wore on the robbery, the sweatsuits that they had on. But this time, the picture showed everybody without their mask on. And this is when they figured out the initial plan was to hit a jewelry store called Peter Marcos, which was set forth because they seen these jewelers receiving jewelry packages from FedEx. So not only is niggas on here doing too much on their Instagram, but the businesses is doing too much too. Everybody's in a mode of flexing. What is the purpose of showing people your FedEx packages with jewelry coming in? It's a jewelry store. We know you got jewelry. How many more customers can you gain off showing something like that on Instagram? And after seeing all of this shit on iCloud, then people start to close in. Now, again, like we said, the feds was already here because they wanted to put the noose on everybody in LA that was getting down with the flocking, robbing, burglaries, everything. They're back with the Hobbs Act saying that these dudes violated interstate commerce because the jewelry owned by luxury jewelers was from out of state. Simple as that. The product that they took had crossed state lines commercially, and that alone is how they hit these dudes with the federal Hobbs Act case. Again, something else that a lot of people don't think about when they think about who gonna be coming for them if they get caught. Not Beverly Hills PD. As we see, they 2 for 2 with sliding their cases to the feds. But Liddell Tharpe is caught in the Mustang by Long Beach PD, and he does the dash, crashes the Mustang, and gets away on foot, but is eventually arrested 6 days after the move, March 29, 2022. And this is where we come back to the new booty, Deshaun Bell, again, who wasn't paid what he was promised. As I said before, the feds got DNA from everybody that jumped out of that Kia and the people that left weapons on the scene. They got their pictures from iCloud. They got on Deshaun Bell fairly quick. But to make sure it was him, they staked out his crib and called his phone. The feds sat back and watched him answer the phone just so they knew they got their man kicked his door in. When he got to the station, he identified Scooby and started cooperating from the jump. You know, something like this goes along with that play extender shit. You know, when everybody's on the move and products have to be sold after the move, it's not just dividing up the money right then and there. A lot of funny shit goes on the back end. You got 5-6 people. All of y'all isn't going to sit down in a group circle with the buyer. It's only 1-2 people that's finna sit down with this buyer. People could be stashing jewelry to the side. You may not know the exact price the buyer is paying for every little thing. Somebody's gonna be left out of the situation. And with an individual that's 19 on a play, you got homies that's way older than you that probably feel like you didn't do enough or whatever the case is. Like I said previously, especially when gangbanging becomes involved in these robberies, a lot of politicking be going on, especially when you got older dudes and younger dudes. Them older niggas think they chillin', and they know that a 19-year-old isn't gonna know everything about this shit. But it seemed like his homie stiffed him regardless of the 6-7 bands he was promised, so he started cooperating off the jump. He also identified Liddell Tharpe, and along with all the other pieces that were bad in this move, Deshaun Bell helped the feds to convict Jimmy Jungle Vernon to 80 months in the feds and Liddell Tharpe to 84 months in the feds. Now, this is the common misconception of a lot of these dudes that be out here telling on their homies. Whether they your homies or not, they just think telling is the way out. He still got hit with 12 months and 1 day. Now, some people may say, okay, boom, 12 months, I can take that on the chin. To get nothing, to have this dirty name on your jacket, and for the feds to still hit you with a $2.6 million federal tax lien that's gonna follow you for the rest of your life, was it worth it, Deshaun Bell? But he's home now. He came home February 7th of this year, did his time, snitched on his homies in a play that went all bad from the beginning. Now, what could have been done differently? Like I said, there was a lot of progress from what the Harlems had to this situation. The take was bigger, and like I said, could this move?
What you think is going to happen with a name like New Booty, bro? You know, you hooking up with these individuals you don't know. You didn't grow up with him. He just came around, and then you do him wrong. You don't know if he's going to stand tall. You don't know him. And he didn't stand there. He started cooperating from the very beginning.
Have been executed at night. Most spots move their display case jewelry from the display to the back when they close. So probably not the display case, but lunch hour, Beverly Hills, Wednesday, broad daylight, this wasn't pretty planning. And not only those factors, when you look at location, Beverly Hills is in the middle of the mix. Hella traffic 24/7, especially at the time of day that they did this. And Beverly Hills is not the closest spot to the 10 freeway because that's the freeway they take. They probably got off on La Cienega, headed north. Depending on traffic, back to the freeway, that shit could be 20 minutes. And it's nowhere to go other than southeast to get back to it. Going north towards Santa Monica Boulevard, you going crazy. They may have tried San Vicente to La Brea, or they could have went back straight down La Cienega. Either way, this location at this time of day is not the smartest, especially when we're talking about leaving a car on the scene. So this plan, honestly, I wouldn't have drew it up. I would have threw this one out. The number's great. Too many people on the play. 5 people in the Kia. This was easily a 2-man job. No more than 3. But this is what they settled on. This was the outcome. Stay tuned for the next one. If you thought...
Wow. Shout out to Rap News and Street Politics. You know, he's very informed. He's very thorough with his work always. Very detailed, man. There you have it. Baby Insane Crips team up with the Park Village Compton Crips. Reportedly is in a federal indictment. They're in prison for it. They got locked up. They pled guilty, got found guilty, busting out the window there in Beverly Hills and making off with $2.6 million and not sharing the money with New Booty. So he ends up giving up everything, giving up everybody. One down. I mean, you got to be careful, man. It's not worth it at the end of the day. It may seem like it, 2.6 million, but you're not actually getting that. Then there's 5 of you. You're making all of these mistakes. You're dropping these phones. And then a lot of times you get caught right then and there, right? During the situation, you don't even get away. You don't have a chance to go and hawk the jury. And then you're sitting, I guarantee you, they're sitting there in prison saying it wasn't worth it, that they would rather be at home working a 9 to 5 or whatever than sitting inside of that jail cell, that prison cell, that hellish cell, the belly, inside of the belly of the beast. It's just not worth it. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is, again, for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Just want you all to see what's going on, what happens in the city. It happens everywhere around the world, of course, and why you should not be getting involved in this one. Not why you should, because none of these situations are ending well. None of them are ending well. So no, why you should not get involved. Stay safe and stay free, people.